I can't, whether no decision has been made to get rid of anything, but certainly to have an opportunity to review what our options are and the cost associated with it. Because I think every one of us would like to make sure we maintain a lot of control over our police who are, I'm not taking anything away from anybody or any one of the people in the city. Police, fire, medical, city employees. There's not a person out here that doesn't serve this community. The question is economics. You have to take a look at where we are and how we're going to get through this mess. And it's little bitty bites and it's big chunks. You just have to do it. So,
Alan, I've been involved in fire service 27 years, and this is the most inefficient system I've ever seen in my life, where you have a private ambulance service doing transport, and the city's all sending their paramedics out to stabilize people before they get there. It's such an inefficient system. You just, the common sense tells you either one or the other has to do the medical calls, And if you're going to do the medical calls, which works really good for fire department, because now you've got the firefighters on the ambulances also used for fires. When you have a fire, they can go in and do rescue and everything else. Something you don't want other ambulance services to do. When you run the fire service, you want to do your own rescue work. You want to go and do the rescue. You don't want untrained people in there that haven't had the training to do rescue. But when they're firefighters, they pull up at the fire and they go right in, and you don't mind them going in because they had the same training you had, although they've gone a little further with the medical training. It's such an inefficient system. It doesn't make any sense to me why they're running it the way they're running it, But at any rate, it is what it is, and I've said since the day I got here in '92, why aren't we doing transport? We're doing everything else. We're stabilizing and everything else.
Anything else?
Well, I'm not sure if I agree with that, George. I'll be honest with you, because when you talk
You're
about
not a firefighter.
I'm not a firefighter. What does that mean?
That means you didn't have the experience to be at fires and see.
I think firefighters should fight fires. That's what they're for. I agree with you on that. When we have 65% of your payroll going towards pension benefits as opposed to 6% of payroll going towards retirement benefits that you have with EVAC, that's a big difference. That's a major expense.
That's another issue.
Hang on. But, George, let him finish.
That's just a major issue. So to do away with EVAC and just put that on, I support contingency, okay, for sure. In the event that there's an emergency, we certainly don't want to have another Edgewater situation in which we're waiting for an ambulance to transport and have a bad situation or a bad outcome on that. But I don't think we need to go into total ambulance transport is a major expense to the city and the benefit package. And I've been in emergency rooms a couple times with my kids, and I know when you go into that emergency room and that evac pulls up, they're there for hours. So we're going to have our firemen just sitting in the hospitals there for a couple hours when they should be protecting our city for fires. So I just don't see the connection there myself. So where I grew up, my brother was a fireman too, by the way. Firemen did fire, evac people, which are ALS trained, they came in and did medical. Anytime you call right now, you're going to get 2 people responding. So you want to talk about inefficient system. You got evac coming, and then you got the fire department coming. That, to me, that doesn't make sense. We pay, it costs $7 per person for Volusia County residents to have evac service. It's a non-profit organization. It's private, but it's non-profit. I don't think we need to get an ambulance transport. That's just my opinion. Evac people are ALS trained. They're as medically trained as any fireman for a lot cheaper cost. So I would only support contingency myself.
Dennis.
Well, I have to agree with that. The contingency, we need to keep that option open. I think that the one thing that we all know for sure is that this issue needs a lot more answers. There's a lot of variables out there. Bob makes a good point. What happens when we've got a firefighter that's at the hospital because of transport and we got another call? It takes people out of the mix for quite some time. But at the same time, it seems like there's some economic incentives for the city to transport. Then you've got the expenses that you've got to look at for the vehicles. It can't help but increase the staff. You're going to have, ultimately, you're going to have more people, because even though you're going to only have 2 people on a transport unit, they're not going to be available. So now you've got a fire truck that's got to be out there too. So you've got 3 people there. So there's a lot of answers that we don't have yet. I think that Mike Mellon has been working on putting together some proposals. I know that there's a lot of debate among the cities, and it's one of those things that right at the moment I just don't think we have enough answers to really be able to provide a solution. But I would support the contingency portion, just to keep the options open. Okay.
Just one quick thing. I know we're going to have a workshop with the Ben Johnson and the Sheriff's Department. I would ask that we have some type of workshop with EVAC to hear what they have to say also on transport.
If you were at 0 right now, I mean, if you look at the way EVAC does its modeling, it does it on a demand basis. And if you go back and see the establishment, the way the fire department was established originally, 24/7, there's some inefficiencies. But when you look at almost pretty close to 80-some% of the total calls are medical, not fire. And if you look at what a fireman's responsibility are, first thing you're supposed to do is save lives. The next thing is property. So however you put your program together, you have to establish methodology that you want to do it. So, if you go back to if you read what the doctrine is that I read about firemen, you're supposed to make sure that it's safety for the people, and it has to do with protect the property. And the property, the house that's burning down, if you look at our cost, sometimes you can let the house burn to the ground, unfortunately, as long as everybody was safe, because it's cheaper. But I think there's a lot of ways you've got to look at it, but there's no simple way to do it. But you're going to have to make some changes, because you're right, it's inefficient in the service provider, and it's almost inefficient in what it's costing. You're going to have to make some changes. You cannot survive. It's not sustainable. You cannot afford it. You're going to have to work it out. You're going to have to go back and redo it all. Having said that, where are we? Council? Any other? Where are you at?
I'm at contingency only.
Contingency only? Contingency? Harry? George?
Yeah.
Contingency till we get some additional information. You all agree with that? Okay. Next is comments and concerns, council members. Dennis?
I'm just concerned that Saturday morning's our annual ordeal. Want as many of the citizens there as possible, because Lord knows we need the help. Come see us, come talk to us, give us the benefit of your input.
Bob?
I know Ken at one time mentioned that there was a potential for some type of organizational chart or organizational changes within our everything. Would some of those be discussed on? Is anything like that going to be discussed on Saturday?
It's available for discussion. We're prepared.